Good afternoon. I hope you can see me now and you can hear me. It's always a question whether the software works as expected. I hope now everything is fine. Let me start the recording and then we proceed. I'm ready. Good afternoon again. This is our regular session, actually the session number 59. We've done so many of them, where we discuss software engineering, programming, philosophy of life, management of the software development world. You ask me questions, I answer them, and we do it in English. Once we do it in Russian, 1 week, the next week we do it in English, and then we switch. There's one new rule I would like to introduce. On every session, I will pick up a question which is more philosophical and than technical. And this question I will answer at the end of the session, at the end of the stream. You keep asking them and I will just randomly pick up one, not randomly, I will pay attention to the questions which are related to life, to the strategy of us people living on this planet, the strategy of programmers, something like that, maybe related to your personal existence, something like that. It may be interesting, may be fun. Let's start with the first question. The question sounds like that. Do you consider elegant objects principles essential for all software or only for specific cases? Should they be followed even in performance critical systems? I consider them for all software, definitely. I believe that principles of clean code, not only elegant objects, any principles you may apply to the code you write, they must be universal. They must be applicable to every line of code you write and every programming language. When you write, for example, now I write very often in Bash. It's also a programming language, and I'm telling you the truth, I discovered this language just maybe a few years ago. Before that, I thought it's just an instrument to write small scripts, and I didn't understand how it works and how it's designed. I didn't care about that. But recently, I pay more and more attention to this language, and I write code in this language, and this code sometimes is quite large and they're quite complex and it's quite elegant, and I apply the principles of elegant objects to Bash programs because that's the way I think, that's the way I understand software, understand executable parts of the code. I want them to be immutable. I want variables to not change their values. That's first. I want the code to be isolated from each other. I don't want one piece of code to know about another piece of code, and I totally don't want to have any global state. That's one of the principles in elegant objects. I don't want to have anything static, which is global state. The same applies to Bash programs, to Bash scripts. I always try to make everything local, everything related to specific block of the code, which is not so easy to do in Bash because it's a script which means that everything is global. But I try to think that way. But then you ask whether we need to skip those principles when the system is performance critical. Yes, we can. Of course, we cannot make all the code clean because this is how our hardware is designed. Our virtual machines are like that. They don't tolerate clean code. If you make everything immutable, if you make no global state, it will be very difficult to design a high performance systems. Very difficult, or sometimes even impossible. You will need something like global state. You will need something like mutability. When you need that, then you consciously, explicitly skip those principles. You may even write that in the code and say, here, I understand that I break the law. I do something which is not supposed to be done here, but it's done because of the performance. And I guarantee you that these cases, they will not be in the majority of the situations. They will happen sometimes, but it's not going to be the rule, and you will not change your religion. You will not change your mindset. You will continue to believe that clean code is better than dirty code, that immutable variables are better than mutable ones. That's going to stay with your mind forever. But sometimes you're going to make exceptions. It's okay, sometimes. Next question. What is the most common misconception about elegant objects that you've encountered? Well, probably the most common is that people start to think that objects are functions, and they start designing objects with one function, one constructor, and that's it, always. And that turns objects into functions, and then the code starts looking weird because it's too much of objects, too many. The objects become features, become functions, become behavior instead of being entities. An object is a none. It's an entity. It's a physical entity in the real world. That's how we design objects. Objects are not functions. They're not behavior. We should not call our object run or exec or execute or print or scan. These are the names for the methods. But sometimes people start to believe that an object must be so small that it starts to resemble a function, starts to be a function. And that's a misconception, definitely. An object must have a few methods, not just one. One is just a corner case, but usually just 2, 3, 4 methods, something like that. And it's always the object has to be a none, has to represent a physical entity from the real world or external world to the application. For example, a good name for an object is a file or directory or a string or a message or a container or an image or a picture. These are the good names. So that's the misconception. Next question, how can this one. Do you think large organizations need their own DOGE department? DOGE stands for, I think, Department of Government Efficiency, right? That's the one which Elon Musk is leading now. I think this is just a department of, they call it internal investigation, which usually exists. Such departments, they exist in every large organization because people do make mistakes, and sometimes they make critical mistakes, and sometimes they commit crime. Maybe not legally punishable crime, but crime against the organization. Sometimes they do something which is not helping the organization, and then the organization has to stop them or at least catch them and prevent this from happening. Any company has that. Sometimes it's called internal audit department. You go to any big company and you ask, where's the internal audit? They will show you the door. And you can go to this door and say, hey, I know my friend is committing a crime. Like, for example, he's, stealing the paper boxes from the office and bring them home and then sell it online. For example, it's a minor crime. Or maybe my friend sitting next to me is just working for a competitor, and then that guy sells basically the database which we have to our competitor, the database of clients. It's impossible to run a large organization without such a department. They had this department in America as well. They had many of those departments. They were just maybe not as effective as they think, or maybe they were not as visible as they need to be right now. I believe it's more like a charade. It's more like a show that they show to us, that they present to us. They created the department. They put the very visible and very vocal guy there, who's Elon Musk there, and then thanks to the guy and thanks to the visibility of the department, they are able to kill their opponents, to destroy their opponents, to demolish the previous administration with the help of this single unit of power. Because if they would, for example, say, we're going to use IRS for that, which is the department which is responsible for decades, responsible for how much people pay in taxes and basically whether people steal money or not, something like that. They've had departments before. It's impossible to function without such a department. But now they make it visible. We just need to think why they do it. What's the purpose? What's the point of that? but not how it works. And all of a sudden, wow, we have this department, great. They're so smart that they finally created that. No, it's not them are so smart. People invented that 200 years ago. Next question, how one can eventually win ACM awards? Well, it's a long journey. It's a long journey. First, you start as a student and you join a team of a proper professor. You join a team, the team which is already moving into the right direction for decades. You don't do it alone. You can't just be a smart guy and then you create something. No, you join the team with a number of maybe generations of professors. And then they start teaching you. They teach you how to become a scientist, how to solve the problems which people don't know how to solve. What are these problems? How to solve them in multiple steps? How many papers you publish, one after another? Then eventually you become visible and eventually you solve a problem which is important for people. Then you get some award, maybe best paper award in some conference, and then you go further and further. People who get ACM awards, they are usually well appreciated before. They've got many other awards before they approach this one. It's not out of nowhere. It's just a long journey of multiple steps, which I don't think these people are aiming for when they do it. They're just interested in what they're doing, and they have very comfortable conditions to not worry about results. This is the key ingredient of scientific success, I believe, is that you let these people who are scientists to live the life of no worry, of no concern about your financial success. They just somehow guarantee these people that if you waste your life, your next 20 years of your life on inventing HTTP protocol or inventing whatever, we don't even know what you're going to invent, but we guarantee you that this time which you waste is going to pay off no matter what. So you're going to be financially stable for the next 70 years, 70, including your wife, including your kids. This is the house for you. This is going to be your salary. We're not going to fire you, even if you're stupid, if you don't deliver anything, if you don't achieve nothing. Still, you're going to teach programming to kids for 50 years, and then you're going to be retired. We're all going to be respect you. Don't worry. Don't try to become a businessman. Don't try to do any crazy things, because this is what you do when you want money. When you want financial success, you do crazy things. You risk your life. You risk your freedom. You sometimes can do something illegal, because that's what money is about. You're trying to take money from other people, and business is almost always very close to crime, very close to, it's a borderline definition of success. But scientific people from science, they are a completely different category of people. In order for these people to be successful, the society has to promise them that they shouldn't risk, they shouldn't try to commit any business, like commit a crime, but don't commit business. Don't try, because these people are smart. These people are smart and full of energy. They are, if they let them go, if you let them express themselves any way they want, they will immediately jump into business endeavors, and most of their lives will be ruined. Of most of them, some of them will be successful, but most of them, they will ruin their life entirely, or because of business failures, or because of they're gonna get into jail, because they're very smart, and this smartness leads to troubles. The guarantee from the government creates scientific achievements. We don't have that in Russia, unfortunately, and many countries don't have that. Only well-developed countries can do that, like America, Western Europe. They provide that to their smart people, and most of these people are they're not, I'm not saying stupid, but most of these people achieve nothing. These scientific guys, these academic guys, they achieve nothing. They just stay there, they teach other generations, but they don't become ACM award winners. No, they just professors, just scientists who publish some garbage papers, and that's okay, because some of them eventually achieve something. But the government guarantees to everybody. And this is what the society has to pay. We should take money from those risky guys who are businessmen, take money away from them, and distribute some of this money among scientists. And then we're gonna get to ACM awards. So you're answering your question. If you want to be one of those awards winners, you need to accept the fact that the next 20 or 30 years of your life is going to be invested into something which has no guarantee of success. Are you ready to do that? You're not going to be rich. You're not going to become a businessman. You're not going to become Elon Musk. You're not going to become a millionaire. Nothing like that. You will just do something very interesting, something potentially important, but maybe not, for 30 years. And then you're going to look back and it will be difficult for you to answer the question to yourself, why I'm not rich? Why I'm nobody? I spent 30 years writing some papers, inventing something, but I'm nobody now. I have nothing, just a small apartment, and that's it, and a cheap car. That's what you turn your life into. Think about it. Next question. I work as a head of engineering department at enterprise, and I want to start open source first principles. Please give me advice on how to sell importance of open source to the business. It's very usually people ask this question. You just you take a part of your code. Well, it's actually since you ask this question, then I think we need to work with you before this question, because what you ask doesn't make sense. It means like you want to do open source, but you don't know what to do in open source. It's like you're saying, I want to do open source, but first you need to understand what is it that you want to make public. You have to answer this question while you're working with your software. You write your Java code, and then you understand that this library, this package, would be nice to have in public, because it's reusable, because everybody will want that, and it's not connected to our business anyhow. And there are many such libraries in any business, in any software, in any proprietary software. There are many parts which can be taken out. Once you see one of those parts, it will be very simple for you to justify in front of your boss, in front of your management, that this part actually belongs to open source world. It doesn't need to stay proprietary. It will be just logical. It will be just easier to explain. So don't switch the priorities. Before you think about open source, you look at your code and think, why didn't you open source it earlier? What did stop you? So did you know last year that this part of the code, this package, belongs to open source? Did you know that? And you didn't put an open source, didn't put it on GitHub? Most probably not. It's not the answer. Most probably last year you just didn't know what is potentially open source, what is potentially public inside your code base. Ask yourself this question. Why didn't you know it last year? What was wrong with you? Change that. Start thinking in terms of modularization of your code. Making modules out of the code, taking those modules out, extracting them. Change this mindset, and then all other questions will be easier to answer. Next question, what do you consider your primary occupation? Developer, researcher, or influencer? And what personal traits allow you to succeed in it? Do you even feel yourself successful at all? Well, actually, that's a good question. Well, the primary occupation is developer. Yeah, I'm a software developer, and I accept that. I'm not a businessman in a you're asking the primary occupation. Not a businessman, not influencer, not researcher, not teacher. I'm a software developer. I write code. I like to do it, and I think I know how to do it better than other people. I don't know how to do better than other people teaching, for example, or research. Definitely not. There are people who are way better than me, and I most probably will never achieve their level. Or influencer. I know people who are way better influencers, and I don't even try to become as good as they are. Like on YouTube, I'm a pretty average influencer, and no matter what I do, I don't become better, because I don't really like that. This is not the job which I prefer to do, being influencer. I prefer to write code. And then if I can show you my code and then you get influenced, if I get you interested, if I get you motivated to write the way I write, great, perfect, but not the other way around. I don't want to influence you first and then, okay, let's think, how can I influence these guys? What else can I give them? How about I give them a better code? Oh, that's a good idea. Let's make another webinar. And that could give us a lot of likes and followers and some traffic. No, I think it's a lousy strategy to put the horse in front of the cart. And then you ask, do you feel yourself successful at all? What personal traits allow you to succeed in it? Well, in terms of writing code, I think I am quite pedantic about details. I sometimes even suffer from that. I enjoy seeing things organized. I don't like chaos. I don't like messy code. Even more than I like good code, I hate messy code. Like I hate it physically. When I open the code base and I see that it's messy and I have to work with that and I have to change that and I can't for some reason, it's like physically hurts me. I feel bad about it. Like feel not just sad, but I can even lose my my temper, and that hurts. So when I see it getting better and better and better, then it makes me happy. And this is the trait I think which helps me. Just a strong desire to see things organized, well organized. Do you even feel yourself successful at all? I don't think so. I think I'm successful because I know people who are way more successful in many other areas, in all the areas, including software development, including writing code. I'm not an author of any big package, big software which is public. No. So far. Maybe I hope that in the future something like that will happen and I will create something which becomes super popular. But I don't have any super popular software made by myself. No. So I don't think I'm successful. Have you watched any of the recommended movies on your Telegram channel? Yeah, I keep watching them. But apparently, I very often, I tried maybe 10 of them already. And I just turned them on, and I switched them off. Usually, it takes me about 5 minutes to realize that the movie is not for me. I'm not saying it's garbage, even though I think so. But it's not for me. Let's put it this way. I'm very... negative usually about movies. So when I find something interesting, I'll definitely post it. I post on Telegram when I find some movie interesting, I post it. And on my blog, you can find the movies which I love, and there are maybe 300 of them there. Just go on my blog, and search for movies, and you will see the full list of movies which I recommend to watch. And many of them I've seen 10 times, sometimes maybe 50 times, 100 times. There are movies which I've seen 100 times. They exist, like literally 100 times. I can just quote the movie from any point of time. Is it a good habit or a bad one? I don't know. Next one, how do you deal with coworker who can't explain their issues properly? They can't explain their issues properly. Well, you mean issues with the code or with their situation, or with their life, or with their management issues? What kind of issues? If you're talking about bug reports and that they cannot properly report bugs, then we just don't accept those bugs. We just let them report again and again until we accept that. In general, it's better to deal with any issues with the people, like whether they're co-workers or kids or people who are above you. It doesn't matter. The best way, when you see that they have issues and they can help themselves, they don't need your help. For example, the co-worker cannot explain their issues. Well, if the guy is dyslexic, if the guy can speak like literally, then help the guy. Just give him a piece of paper and ask to write it down. That's going to be helpful. But if the guy is just lazy and the guy doesn't like to explain it properly, the guy believes that you have to understand him the way it is, then you just put the the acceptance criteria in front of the person. Just let the person deal with the formal definition of good. And then they will hit this definition of good. And they will start making bad. Just tell them that we accept issues or bug reports or whatever in this format. If the format is not sufficient enough for us, then we just don't accept it. And if we don't accept it, you don't get the salary by the end of the month. Or you're going to get penalty to your salary. You're going to get less money. That's it. And then just walk away. That's the end of the story. And then they will have to deal with objective criteria. Very often people have misunderstandings between each other because the criteria is not defined. We have different definition of good. You believe that, what do you say, cannot explain properly. You have your own definition of properly. I have my own definition of properly. And that's what the problem is. Very often people are evil. Very often. Very rarely. I misspell it. Very rarely people are evil. They just intentionally want to hurt you. It's a extremely exceptional situation. They may exist, but usually they don't. Usually what happens, people just have different understanding of what is good. They believe that what they're doing is good. You believe that what they're doing is bad. And that's it. Set the criteria in front of yourself, between yourself and that people. Clear the air. Define what's good, what's bad. Next question. What do you think about DDD? For example, this approach suggests using a rich model which is more suitable for object-oriented programming. As far as I understand, how I understand DDD is that it is a principle according to which we have to design in our software the objects according to the business domain. But usually we design our objects, when we don't practice DDD, we design our objects according to the persistence domain, according to the database. You start making a web app, and your web app is an online shop which is selling motorbikes, whatever. Then you set up the database, a relational database, a SQL database, Postgres, for example. Then you design some tables there. You're going to have the table bikes or bike. You're going to have the table customer. You're going to have the table shipment. And then you're going to have the table payment, and then complaint maybe, and then maybe the cashback and whatever. Many different tables are going to be there in the database. Then what we do usually when we develop the application in a traditional way, we create objects or classes inside our Java code, for example, with exactly the same names as we have in the database. There will be the bike class, the shipment class, the payment class, the transaction, the refund, and all that. So we copy the persistence layer to our application layer. And then we copy that further, and then the controllers start dealing with that, and then they present the information to the user and all that. So we are basically database driven in this approach. DDD says, no, don't listen to the database. Don't look at what's going on there. First, you design your classes and your objects in the application. Think about the customer perspective. Think about what exists in the real world where people live. What exists there? For example, we have a shop, for example, which that's going to be the class. The shop which is selling the bikes. That's the class. It doesn't exist in the database, but it does exist in the world. That's the shop. That's the place where we sell the bikes. And then in this shop, for example, we're going to have the weekend class. The weekend is because we sell on the weekend more actively than on the weekday. We're going to have two classes, weekday and weekend. Surprised, right? Because we don't have this in the persistence layer, but we do have it in the real world. So we design all our classes as the customers expect us to behave with them. And then we see, okay, how do we connect these classes, the weekend and the weekday and the shop, with the database? That's a question for developers, how to connect the world of data and the world of objects. That's DDD. And that's elegant objects as well, I believe. That's how proper design should be done. Any object-oriented design should be done like this. DDD or elegant objects or just object-oriented design. That's the common sense there. That's what object orientation is for. But we don't do that. We just design first the data. We first start with the relational database. We design tables. We put the data there, and then everything else gets driven by that. That's wrong. That's bad to do it like that. Next question. What are your thoughts on DevOps? Do you consider DevOps specialists as important as they are valued on the market? No, I think that DevOps programmers must be DevOps. I think this job as DevOps must be removed from the market. Because it's not necessary right now with the platforms which we have, with the Amazon Web Services, with the Heroku, for example, with the Yandex Cloud, and all the different platforms and the software which is already written. We don't need people who say, I am the one who knows how the servers connect to each other. No, every programmer has to know that. The programmers already know what is HTTP. We already know how TCP/IP probably we don't know how it works internally, but we know what is an IP address. We know what is the SSH tunnel. We know what is the bash command. We know how to write in bash. We know how to write a script in bash. We must know that. Then why do we need a guy who is DevOps by the job title? That's just something from the past. Maybe 10 years ago, yeah, when the Docker was just showing up. But now everyone knows how to deal with Docker. Everyone can write a Docker file, anyone. If you don't know how to do it, then probably you're not just a good programmer. Just not enough skills. You have to learn those skills. But it's not something that special people have to do. That's my take on that. Next one. Are you familiar with Friedrich Nietzsche work, particularly Thus Spoke Zarathustra? If so, do you think his ideas are relevant to a programmer's philosophy? Okay, this question is good for the last question of the session. I'm going to answer it on the last 5 minutes. Please stay online. Don't walk away. We're going to talk about it. Next one. Can I contribute to your or maybe your team's projects if I write in Kotlin for backend? We don't have Kotlin projects, fortunately or unfortunately. We have Java mostly, but we are not against Kotlin. If you maybe can suggest some standalone library, which is completely in Kotlin. We actually have one project in Kotlin. I'm wrong. We have one project in Kotlin. We did it. We had a few students, I think 2 years ago, and they were interested to write in Kotlin, and we said no problem. There was a separate module for our EO programming language family of products. They did in Kotlin. So you can join us and you can, for example, contribute to that particular module. Next one. I have many object-oriented questions, but Google, Stack Overflow, AI, etc. don't help because they give me improper object-oriented answers. Where can I ask my questions to get answers that are aligned with your OOP practice? Many years ago, maybe 10 years ago or 7 years ago, I suggested to create a sub stack or what they call it, the sub website on Stack Exchange, which would be dedicated to elegant objects discussions. And at that time, the idea was not supported and we didn't do it. Maybe we can try it again. If we will collect, I think they need a number of votes for that, maybe 100 or so. And then we can create that kind of site. Maybe we can call it eo.stackexchange.com. Let's try to restart this idea again. Maybe it's going to work. That would be a good place to discuss because you will be able to ask questions there. Then people will be able to give you answers. Then upvote, downvote. Could be interesting discussion about elegant objects principles. Remind me in Telegram and we can try. But it's not a guarantee, of course, because they will collect votes and then they will decide whether to create it or not. And that if not enough people vote for that, then they're not going to do it. Next question. Which package manager is best suited for Java and why? Is there a package manager in the EO language? We use Maven. We don't like Gradle. Definitely no Gradle. I highly don't recommend to use Gradle. I think in general, it's not a good idea to But I mean, the Gradle it's okay. The idea is okay. I mean, it's a place where you can write any script you want, any build, design your build the way you want. But I think the applicability of this idea is too wide right now. People use it in too many cases, which shouldn't happen. Gradle is suitable for corner cases. Maybe out of 50 projects, like one of those projects may be designed with the Gradle for a reason, because Maven is just not enough, because Maven cannot do that. But how many tasks are out there which Maven cannot deal with? Not so many. Usually Maven is good enough, because there are two different approaches. The Maven is a convention-driven build manager. There is a convention. We all know that first we compile and then we test. That's just a simple example. In Gradle, you can do the other way around. In Gradle, you can first test something and then you compile, for example. And that will be okay. If I open your Gradle file, then I'll just can see that, and I should be prepared for that. That you, for some reason, designed it your own way, not the traditional way, which is not very convenient for developers. I don't want to learn new principles and new conventions in every single project. Instead, I want to remember only one simple convention. We test first, we compile first, and then we test. And then we do integration testing, and then we package, and then we deploy. That's it. That's a life cycle of my application, no matter which one. It's Java, it's Maven, I know how it works. And that was a great idea of Maven. That's how they killed Ant. You know, there was an Ant system, Ant system, which was dominating the market before Maven. But then Maven completely destroyed that. I don't know who is using this Ant anymore, because Maven came up with an idea. Let's be convention driven. Don't let programmers improvise. Just stop this improvisation nonsense. Just listen to us. We know how to do it right. We are Java people. We know that first we compile, then we test, then we do integration test. That's it. Maven doesn't allow you to improvise, which is great. The more limitations we programmers have, the higher the quality of the product that we create. In all aspects, in programming languages and build automation and continuous integration and testing everywhere, the more limitations, the better. The less freedom we have, the better is the code. The less we improvise, the better, because we are not as smart as the developers of Maven. We're not as smart as developers of Java or Gradle, for example. We must assume that we are incompetent, and the tools must drive us. The tools must guide us. But Gradle says, no, you are the king. You are the developer. You can do whatever you want. Be smart. Be creative. That's wrong. Let me see some questions on VK. Let's check. The question was on VK. Can you make an advice about book that programmers should read for self-improvement, not only tech? For self-improvement, but not tech. And you're a programmer. You want to improve yourself. Maybe Sun Tzu, the Chinese guy who wrote the book about the military strategy. I think that will improve yourself as a person, as someone who is trying to become a better person. Then read this. It's a story about war, but it's not only for that. Next question, what book about leadership called Rita were you talking about in the last video? Just search for Rita PMP. Rita PMP. R-I-T-A P-M-P. You will find the book. That's all. Next one, you promote ideas of strict state control, but you yourself look like a freedom-loving person who is difficult to control. Do you think that in a dictatorship you will be controlling, not controlled? Interesting question. I am not someone who is difficult to control. I just don't like the people who try to control me. I don't respect them in most cases. And that's why, yes, I'm difficult to control. And I would be happy to find somebody who would be, but certain things, like I just explained to you, the Maven, for example. I love to be controlled by Maven because I respect the Maven. I respect the ecosystem. I respect the people who created Maven. I think they're brilliant, and I really enjoy being controlled by this. And there are a number of things in life which I really enjoy to be controlled by. But I don't like to be controlled by, let's say, a manager who is managing me, because I don't feel that this guy knows what he's doing, or is driven by good ideas, or is driven by good intentions. No, I just understand that the guy is not really. For example, I mean, you know these examples. You also have managers. How many managers do you actually respect? Not so many. Usually we just know that these people are the same as us. They don't know what we're doing. They don't understand. They make mistakes. So why should I listen to them? Or the rules, for example. Sometimes the rules are just they don't make sense, and they're made by people who just needed to make some rules. These people just don't think, they just make rules. And then, of course, I don't respect them. And that's why I don't like to be controlled by these rules. But certain things which I respect, I perfectly enjoy being under control. I enjoy being restricted by the things which I choose myself. That's probably the formulation of what's going on. And then to answer the second part of your question, in a dictatorship, I would probably escape the dictatorship situation. Of course, I'm not going to be happy to live under some dictator. If I get there for some reason, then I will definitely try to get away, to move to another country, to get rid of that. Or I would try to respect the rules of the dictator. You may say that, for example, in Russia there is a dictatorship, as people say in the media, which is kind of close to truth. We do have in Russia some restrictions. We do have some limitations. For example, you cannot go out on the street and just start saying something about your political position and claiming that we need to change the government and so, because you will be arrested immediately. So we do have restrictions. So that's why people call it dictatorship, which is technically, to some extent. But I do respect that. This kind of dictatorship, I say, I like these rules. If I would be the dictator, I would also prohibit people going out on the street and saying out loud what they believe about the government. I would also put them in jail. I would do the same. So I'm saying, okay, I respect this kind of dictatorship. That's it. Or, for example, they prohibit gay pride parades in Russia. You cannot go out and say, I'm gay, let me dance on the street. You're going to get to jail. I would do the same. If you put me in charge of the country, I would be exactly the same dictator. I would also prohibit that kind of show on the street. So I respect that. But if, for example, tomorrow in Russia they will say, I don't know, you're not allowed to go out on the street after 10 p.m. That would be something that I would not respect. That I would say, come on, that's enough. I want to go somewhere else, to another country. But, for example, they don't allow people to buy alcohol after 11 p.m. in Russia. You cannot buy any alcohol after 11 p.m. in any shop in Russia. That's perfect. I would actually ban alcohol entirely in the entire country. So in this case, I am even more dictator than the current government in Russia. So that's I'm pretty flexible in this area. I hope I answered your question. Next one. Which package manager? We answered that. Do you have any habits that enhance your productivity? How do you manage stress and pressure? My productivity. I try, I think I said it some time ago, I try always, usually, not always, but usually I try to find a reason of my work. And that reason should be usually a person or a group of people who are waiting something from me. That motivates me better than anything else. For example, I write a book, which is finished now, and we're going through the review process. And what makes me motivated to work on that? I announced the book on the channel, on the Telegram channel. I told you that the book will be published. Now you're waiting for the book. I saw people who said, "Yeah, we're waiting. Please, as soon as it's published, give it to me." I always think about these people when I sit down writing the next chapter or doing the changes to the sections. I think about them, that they exist somewhere and they wait for me. They just, "Hey, come on, give me that. We're waiting." That gives me the energy, gives me everything. Not the money, which I definitely will make when the book is published, but I'm thinking about who is that guy who is waiting for me. Or, for example, in the office. I have a project and we do the project. I always try to find somebody who will tell me that, "Hey, okay, I'm interested. As soon as it's done, call me." Perfect. Then I start thinking, okay, come on, I'm going to do it because they're waiting. So if you want a recommendation, find the customer, find the client who is waiting for you. And that will give you the energy, give you the power to go through the stress. Because I don't have that much stress, to be honest. I'm not very much stressed, but I'm sometimes I become tired. I mean, sitting in front of the computer working, the brain gets tired. And in order to refresh, I relax a little bit and then I try to remember who is waiting for my results. Next one. I want to be the first to learn about new features in programming, for example, backend. Which sources should I look at to find out first? Hacker News. Hacker News is probably the place which you have to scan every morning. If you are a programmer, if you are an IT person, then go to Hacker News every morning, spend 5-10 minutes there. You will find the most upvoted papers, the most upvoted blog posts or news. You will be staying up to date on what's going on. About the technologies specifically on the back end, well, maybe you can go to Reddit and subscribe to programming subreddit. There are hundreds of articles published every day, but you only look at the top ones which are upvoted, and you will stay informed about what's going on. You're not going to miss big things. You're going to learn first about what's going on. And you will be able to share that stuff with your colleagues, with your friends. You will be the guy who knows what's going on. That's for sure. Next one. I often have project ideas that feel too complex, making it hard to find the motivation to start coding. Have you ever experienced this? Yeah, that happens. Yeah, very often. What I do in this case, I just write them down. I forget about them. I just properly write the idea down, explain the full paragraph, like make it a text. And I even have on GitHub, I have the page which is about these projects, which explain what I would love to do when I have time, what I would love to develop or design when I have time or if I have time. And then I don't touch them for years. Just write them down and get back to smaller things. It's better to make a smaller thing successful than a larger thing fail. I mean, it's obvious truth, right? It's a common sense. Next one. What's your take on code ownership when each part of the code base has a designated owner responsible for its maintenance and quality? I think it's a terrible idea. Just to put it shortly, it's a terrible idea. We must not have code ownership. Moreover, we must randomly select people when we fix bugs. This is a good management practice. Every time you fix a bug, you don't ask the person who was working on this code before to fix that code. You ask another person who never saw that code to fix the bug. Code ownership, it's a terrible idea. Well, I think you understand why. Because people get used to the code they work with, and then the code becomes less and less readable, less and less understandable by random people, by strangers. But this is wrong. This is not what we fight for. We want our code base to be readable, to be understandable by anyone. That's why code ownership, no, never. It's about the DTO, how to avoid DTO when you really need to transfer data to the web. Can I use DTO as a trade-off? No, we suggest not to use DTO as trade-off. I recommend you join our channel, our group in Telegram, which is called Elegant Objects. And this group Constantly, every day, discuss questions like this. You will be able to post a question there. People will give you some recommendations. Just join the group. It's called Elegant Objects altogether. That's the place on Telegram where I also participate there. Ask that question. We will show you examples. We can show you the code which does what you are trying to do without DTOs. You will see how it works. How do you call your expertise? Object-oriented expert or something? Yeah, you can say that. Object-oriented programming expert. Okay, guys, we are slowly moving to the last question, but still a few more to answer. What is your best advice for beginner developers? If you want a best advice, just a short one, don't work for money. Don't convert or turn your time, your use to money. That's the biggest mistake I've made in my life, and many young developers do this mistake. Instead, convert your time into your profile, into your CV, into your assets, knowledgeable assets, your reputation, professional reputation. This is what matters, not money. But it's very easy when you're young. It's very easy to gamble with your time, to gamble with your life, because you think that the life has no limits. You think that you're going to live forever. But then when you get 40, when you get 30 and then 40, then you start understanding that no, life actually is not unlimited, and you wasted most of it. Your most active time is between 20 and 30. This is when you achieve most of your achievements in your life. Everything else is going to happen slower, and you're going to have bigger troubles later. The biggest achievements happen when you're early. Look at all the famous people, all the people who you look up to. These people achieved everything when they were young, before 30. Everything else happened like a consequence, like a follow-up on that. That's my recommendation. If you want a generic one, without the details and specifics of what to do exactly. Next one. What problems do you think will be associated with AI in the field of development and IT business? Problems. What problems? Well, maybe it's gonna be difficult for us to prevent AI from committing big lies. Not crime, but big lies. AI already can perfectly lie to us. And now we're skeptical. Now we look at it and we understand that it may hallucinate, because when it lies, it doesn't do it properly. It doesn't do it as effectively as it could. We can easily understand that he's wrong. ChatGPT, for example, or she, who it is. I don't know. But in the future, it will be more and more professional misinformation coming to us. And we will have to deal with that somehow. And it will be difficult. We're not going to know how to do that. For example, it will take your software, take your source code, and rewrite it entirely and send you a pull request of 5,000 lines of code. And you will not be able to understand whether it's okay or not, because the build will still going to be green. And everything will look like, okay, it works. It did that to me, actually, 2 days ago. I was experimenting, actually yesterday, not 2 days ago. Yesterday on Telegram, I promote you this Claude Code package. And I installed this Claude Code package. And I played with it for a whole day. And you know what it did to me with one of the Docker files? It rewrote this Docker file. Rewrote it completely and made it shorter and made it more compact. And I said, wow, such a brilliant idea. And I committed that and I started to use it. And then I realized after a few hours that actually he did it wrongly, incorrectly. He missed one important feature which was there. I implemented that feature a few years ago for a reason. But that dude didn't realize that. He didn't understand the reason. Well, because I didn't write the tests, my fault as well. But he rewrote everything. I trusted this guy. And now I understand that I need to not roll back, but I need to do something with that. And that was just one example of a misinformation which led me to a not super critical error, but I wasted half of my day. It will happen more and more often. It will lie so professionally that we will be very confused, realizing that that was a lie long after. Okay, now that's it. And let me get back to the question which was about Nietzsche, if I'm not mistaken. It's going to be the last question for today, and it's philosophical, so let's try to answer it. Again, the question sounds like this. Are you familiar with Nietzsche's work, particularly Zarathustra? If so, do you think his ideas are relevant to programmers' philosophy? Yes, I know the book, and I'm a big fan of his work. I read this book, I read many other books, especially the one about Christianity, the one about God. He's so much right about many things, but he's so much against the society he was and he is now that it's very difficult for most people to interpret, to take him seriously. We believe that he's like some sort of a storyteller. Like he tells us interesting stories, and we should not take them literally, but they are, in my opinion, quite literal. They are about life, and of course about the life of programmers. So basically he's saying, how I understand him, he's saying that that it's all in your hands, that you are that you don't deserve any sympathy or any help if you don't fight every day for your own happiness, for your own achievements, for your own success. And success, according to him, means a war which is won. And it's literally a war. It's not like a computer game, but a war in life. And he presents it, he asks us to understand, he suggests us to understand that living creatures on this world, living organisms, we are here to fight and to kill each other. And killing others and destroying other organisms, this is the meaning of life. This is the ultimate objective. Just be the winner, kill others, and be the one who survives. And your survival is the indicator of your success, is the primary quality of a good person. The person who destroys the enemies, all the enemies around, and survives. Which sounds quite aggressive, which sounds quite dangerous to most of us, because we don't want to fight, we don't want to kill anybody, we barely want to kill a cow and eat a steak. Half of us are vegetarians, and we believe that even cows don't deserve to be killed. But he says, no, not only cows, but people that deserve to be killed. The bad people, the people who are weaker than you are. The people who, for example, write bad Java code, they deserve to be killed, according to Nietzsche. And people who write better Java code, they deserve to be alive. They deserve to survive. Because if we follow this strategy, then all of us together eventually will be better as a community. That's a philosophical viewpoint. I'm not suggesting you start killing people tomorrow in the office who don't write unit tests. But that's what Nietzsche would suggest to you. Interpret that with a grain of salt, of course. You're not going to be a fighter. He was, he ended up as in a hospital for psychos, for people who are sick on their head. So don't take this literally like that. But still, put it in your head that you have to fight. You shouldn't tolerate bad things around yourself. That will make you a better person. That will make you respect yourself. That will make you feel better about your life. That's going to give you the meaning of life. The meaning of your life is a constant fight, constant war with the things you don't like, with the negligence, with the low quality, with the laziness. This is what Nietzsche was saying. But he was saying that again with the very strong words. Just don't take it direct, don't take it literally. But the philosophy is amazing. It's it seems to me way better and way more effective than many other philosophical viewpoints, which I've read about. Okay, that's it for today. I hope I gave you some interesting food for thought. Thank you for coming. I expect you to hit the like button and the follow button. Thanks for staying with me. I continue giving you this